Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to AI for Good, all year, always online. I'm Charlotte Kahn, presenting AI for Good Perspectives. AI for Good is a year-round digital platform where AI innovators and problem owners learn, build, and connect to identify practical AI solutions to advance the UN SDGs. AI for Good Perspectives offer expert insights, global visions, and shared solutions from the AI for Good global community. And today we bring you Professor Mérouane Debbah, Chief Researcher at the Technology Innovation Institute of the UAE. Professor, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the interview.
So first of all, can you tell us about the use of AI in research and how it can help advance the UN SDGs?
That's a good point. So in these last years, AI has been having a tremendous impact in research in terms of the acceleration of discoveries that we're seeing today. The kind of discovery and research that we're talking goes, of course, from the health industry to things which are more related even to simplifying on how people implement code, and also to the design of basically networks or chipsets. For example, in the case of research related to proteins, there's been a lot of announcements. We're also working here at TII on that domain. We're able to accelerate basically the design of specific proteins corresponding to some specific, I would say, some kind of diseases that you can that you have. And this is, of course, a big change in the sense that there's been a lot of testing which has been done before and which require a lot of data. And we're able, thanks to AI, of course, to accelerate the process of drug discovery. The second thing also, which is extremely important in research, is, of course, implementation of what we call codes. Meaning people implement codes in certain languages. We call them C language, Python, or whatever. And in general, when students start doing that, well, there's a big issue. It's related to bugs. Meaning the kind of implementation that you're having has a certain number of bugs. Bug discovery is a big issue. And of course, you can simplify the process with all the kind of what we call AI models, which are able at the same time of simplifying your code in terms of design, but also trying to find exactly the code when you implement it. So that's also a very good acceleration. The third one is, of course, on the design of a lot of things, chipsets, networks. And for which, in general, you bring engineers. They spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to do that design. And we have today things which are being done in an auto manner. Okay, so it's like auto design, and for which we accelerate the process. And then, of course, then the human comes behind to check all these points in a very specific manner.
Thank you. That's really insightful. Tell us a bit more about the role AI could play in education generally, not just in research.
So that's also another big tendency that we're seeing today in terms of how education basically is provided everywhere. There's been a big tendency of what we call flipped courses. What we mean by flipped courses, it means that basically when you're in the classroom, you don't anymore like try to learn the course because you have all those videos that have been pre-registered and in which you can prepare already before coming to the course, basically all the content. And in general, the time that you're going to spend in the class is a very useful time. It's the time in which you're having an interaction with the professor in terms of more details or doing some exercises. On the part related to where you're doing the learning with all these what we call MOOCs, basically these are courses basically that you have at home and in which you have videos, AI has been playing a very important role in basically trying to monitor the pace at which people are going to improve basically the learning process in terms of understanding basically what are the blocking points, providing, of course, useful tips in terms of how to improve basically those blocking points in a video. And that's because we learn on the process when you see video on where are the points where you stop, where are the points where you're having a hard time. And then we can tailor some very specific, I would say, kind of exercises which are tailored to those things. So this has accelerated a lot the process of basically the content. Because at the end of education, there's two parts. There's, of course, having the content which you learn. And then, of course, there's all the interaction that you're having with the professors, which is more on a human basis, in which there, basically, you will learn other aspects of education. And so the process, which I would say is basically just the content, AI has been accelerating it. And we're seeing, of course, a lot of tools now available, which are provided by many companies, on which basically people now, when they start learning on these flipped courses, they have, of course, much more scoring, much more ability to perform better, and then come in the classroom fully prepared for this interaction and useful time that you spend with the professor.
So what does it mean in terms of national education policies? How could we use AI more in order to prepare a proper plan for the next generations?
So that's a very good question, and this is the case of many governments who have put into place what we call AI national strategies. In general, those national strategies go through other disciplines in terms of economy, in terms, of course, of healthcare and other things like that. In terms of education, we realize that we have a lot of data today in terms of the grading of students. Okay, so this is a plethora of grading of students. In fact, it gives us a lot of ability to predict basically the kind of, I would say, places that we need to have in certain universities, because we're able to predict in some sense the kind of success in the different fields of the students. But of course, we're also able to predict the failures. And predicting failures, of course, is extremely nice, because then you can have an impact in terms of knowing how many professors in mathematics you need to put in that high school, for example, to improve the level over there. How many basically places you should put at university. What are the kind of fields on which you should be investing based on the knowledge that the students are having. And in terms of national policies, we've been able basically with the grades of the students to get a lot of good statistics in terms of predictions on basically the kind of grades the students will have next year in a certain domain. And when we start feeling a certain tendency, then we can implement some policies which will try to fix that. And this is very important because in an economy, for example, like we're here in the UAE, we have what we call some priority sectors on which we feel that it's very important that the UAE is positioned. And for that, basically, with respect to the grading of the students, to the cases of courses that they have, we can start a matching and provide those policies which will gear basically the students that we have in the UAE towards those priority sectors that we think are very important for our economy.
Am I right in calling this smart education then?
It's extremely smart education. And what's wonderful about that is that the data that we have related to all those gradings, all the students, we're just scratching the surface at the moment. Meaning, I'm sure there's going to be very smart people listening to me today having extremely good ideas on how to improve the educational system based on the data that we can provide.
Well, that sounds very exciting. Professor Mérouane, Debbah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's it from us at AI for Good Perspectives, all year, always online.